Our other guest is Mohammed. Mohammed is he's very cool. I mean, he's one of the coolest dudes in town.
Thank you.
Seriously, and I saw you a few months ago at DTech. I remember that's when I met last year when I met you first time. Tell us about your company, the fact that you pay your people with Bitcoin, right?
No, actually Dubai coin, which is a currency
Dubai
that
coin,
we
even-
created. So.
Okay, so you don't deal with real money anymore.
No, not really. No.
Brilliant.
So we pay over 20 people that works with me with a currency that we created. So we pay them fake money. Not
Okay.
really money. No, I mean now the whole story is, started. I have a little bit of a banking background and software background, and then I had that gap here, what I call it. So I studied a lot of philosophy, psychology, innovation management, and kind of put it all in a mixture. And I like as well, writing poetry, especially in Arabic, old Arabic. So it's kind of a mixture of things here and there. And then decided to do a little bit of physics and astronomy, and then a little bit of futuristic studies, as they call them. So right now, I identify as a futurist.
Join the club of two.
Well, yeah. So there would be a nice course actually in the DIFC Future, so about the future insights
Sure.
in about a couple of weeks. Anyway, so at that time, when I started with the bank, and I was about 22 years old, and I was in a group called the Enterprise Architects.
Right.
And these people are we are a group of four. Three of them, the youngest is about 56 years old. So it was a really tough, to keep up or to convince them, because they don't give you anything to work on. You're that kid, coming in and trying to prove yourself to people, just like, yeah, sure, go and bring us some coffee or something. Anyway, so they decided to give me something to keep me occupied. They told me, okay, you know what, we'll create something called the Innovation Lab. We'll put you there. You seem very interested about that. Go and research certain technologies and what is the impact of those technologies on the future of banking.
Yeah.
Very easy task, you do that before breakfast usually. So I went there and started looking into technologies. Blockchain was one of them. This was 2011, 2010, so at the very beginning of Bitcoin, that was the only application. I came up with that recommendation. It's like, okay, you know what, guys, there's this cool technology that's going to change the way banking works. Not only banking, but the way we perceive economy.
Yeah.
And I told them to invest in Bitcoin. Was in 2011 March time. So Bitcoin was about $3 at that time.
And you must have been seen to be something really, really weird at that point.
Yeah,
in time.
of course.
And almost arrested, right? Because I got something similar in 2013, where somebody wanted me to represent them for Bitcoin, and I said, no, come on, I'll be in jail before I know. So
I wasn't. No, they were looking at me as this weird kid. Basically, he was trying to do everything futuristic. I remember Mr. Polanyi was the head of treasury. He was like, Mohammed, I know you're you're smart and all, but sometimes you take it too far. Just like play it cool, come down here. Be on the ground. It's like I'm always in disguise, because I used to tell him even for people that tells you the sky is the limit. I hated that phrase, even though it's supposed to be positive. And I say, why is it the limit? It shouldn't be. It should be just the beginning. And anyways, so they told me, no, it will die in a year or two, and of course it didn't. Bitcoin went all the way up to $20,000.
you're a multi-billionaire today, right? You're a Bitcoin billionaire? Oh my God.
Anyways.
Moving on.
Moving on. I actually started, emailing the central bank at that time, telling them, hey guys, there's this new thing, either you should, accept it or regulate it, do something about it. And I got the most interesting reply, actually, which is no reply whatsoever. It's like, why would they reply to me? So then I decided, okay, you know what? I'll do it myself. So it was a journey. I traveled a bit and then worked for Microsoft a little bit, and then decided to start Arabian Chain, and then built the first cryptocurrency out of the Middle East, Dubai coin, DBIX. So I created a currency, and then I went to the Minister of Economy in Saudi, and I was talking to him about this new thing, and he says, no, but it's not real. And I told him, well, I created a currency, and that currency is in the market now, and it is traded for, it was about 70 cents for like $1. That was the range. It's actually it has a more value than the real or the dirham. And people are trading that, and now we pay all our employees with that currency. So I created fake money and I pay my people with it. So it's cool.
You started out as an entrepreneur. What has been your experience in terms of acceptance, in terms of tolerance to failure? You're a rich man, so you have the money, but where does the money come from?
Oh, thank you.
And no, I'm serious. But I meet all these young entrepreneurs, and actually the Dubai Chamber of Commerce did a study, and recently it's been published, where they said for entrepreneurs the number one issue is actually opening a bank account. Number two issue is about funding, and number three is about having a place to work, which is an ecosystem where they can work with each other to create something, rather than sort of sitting in an office somewhere.
Silence.
What is your experience in that?
In starting with that thing, I will quote a very famous philosopher that says, innovators are gonna innovate, and regulators are gonna hate. So it's not our job as entrepreneurs and innovators to care about regulation. This is not my job. My job is to disrupt, and their job is to follow up and try to contain it in a box. I'm speaking about the regulation. It was announced, a couple of days back from the SCA here, Security Capital Markets Authority in Abu Dhabi, and they actually came up with an approach towards ICOs, how to regulate them and consider them as securities. And I think it should be done that way. As a tool, it's a very powerful tool for funding. It's crowdfunding. At its best, it's easy. Click a button and you're investing things and sending hundreds of millions of dollars across the world.
Right.
So that is one of the things. I mean, we personally didn't face a lot of issues fundraising at the beginning. I mean, most of it we did that ourselves because we we engaged in certain activities to kind of generate that money, and instead of asking people for money, we invested money at the beginning to generate money that we can reinvest back and create an ecosystem. But for today's startups, I think it's better than what we were like 3, 4, 5 years ago, because today people are more understanding. I mean, of new ideas. The Fintech Galaxy is one of those. Basically, you're trying to bridge the gap between the the startups or the entrepreneurs and the market that actually gonna either invest or use their services.